show. You learn that. We got to check all our cameras first to make sure everything's working. And John's got to make sure it works and gives me the thumbs up. So we're ready to go. That was it. Not bad. 10-second delay. Welcome. I am Dr. Joe Esposito. For the first time joining us, I'm glad you're here. What we do is I try to give you health tips and give you ideas on things that you can do to naturally get well and stay well so you can take control of your own health. And that's a big issue because we spend a lot of money on healthcare. We're getting less and less results. Life expectancies are shortening and cutting a lot of studies you're reading. And so what do? I'm going to give you those tips here. So I will talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, can type in any health question you have. At the end of 24 minutes, John, my producer, the man behind the camera, will go ahead and read me the questions. I will then answer them. Then I'll do another 24 minutes, and then I'll answer more questions for you again. So this is a great opportunity for you to get some questions answered on healthcare. And please share this link right now with your entire feed, your whole list, because this is vital information. And after one show, you'll know what I'm talking about, and you'll say, oh, yeah, I got to tell other people about this. So I'm ready to go when you are, John. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad you're with me today. Today, we're going to talk about signs and symptoms that you have that you didn't know were serious. Your body is telling you that there's something wrong. And many times you ignore these things, not a good idea. I remember I had a secretary one time, and she had horrible digestive problems. And she just thought everybody had horrible digestive problems. She had nothing to compare it to. And then one day she realized, well, she went to a doctor, and I helped as well, and we found out that she had celiac. She couldn't eat wheat. And every morning she'd drive into the fast food place, and they'd have her pancakes and waffles and her biscuit ready for her. And she had horrible digestive problems her whole life. And so that was a warning sign. Saying something's wrong, she didn't pay attention. So your body is pretty amazing. I mean, it's this amazing vessel. It allows you to breathe and sleep and eat and move and reproduce and just do it again 24 hours later. And you can take a double beef cheeseburger on white bread with artificially processed cheese food spread, and your body can still utilize that and keep you alive. You may not thrive, but it might keep you alive. So I want to give you some tips on things you can do when symptoms show up. Our bodies are super clever. They tell us things. Many times we don't know how to listen or how to read the signs. The clues are not always obvious, and they may present themselves in unusual ways. When we talk about it today, this will make a lot more sense. So let's talk about some signs and symptoms that maybe you don't have to worry about it, maybe you do, and sometimes they just end up hinting at something more sinister going on, and that's when it becomes a real serious issue. So these are things that have come up in my career. Patients have come to me with these issues. And I want to make sure that you understand what they are, because people come to me all the time. I've been in practice 40 years now. And people come to me all the time and say, Dr. Joe, what does this mean? Sometimes it's totally benign, but sometimes it's pretty serious. So let's go through a few things. I want to start with dry eyes, because this just happened the other day. People have dry eyes. They don't understand why. Now, maybe you're staring at a computer screen all day. It's a common issue with people that have an autoimmune disease called Sjogren's syndrome. And that can cause inflammation of your tear ducts. The tears can run, or it can be dry as well. And that can lead to chronic dry eye and a reduction in tear production. So dry eyes can be a very serious issue. And if it's an autoimmune disease, I don't want to treat the disease. I want to work on the fact that you have an autoimmune condition. Because if you have one autoimmune condition, you can get many others. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, it could lead to thyroid, could lead to Sjogren's. So autoimmune diseases essentially is when the body is attacking itself because the immune system isn't working properly. So I'm going to give you tips on what you can do about it as well. And one of the things we can do for dry eyes is cry more. Now, you don't have to watch sad movies to do that. All you have to do is chop onions. If you chop onions, don't get to the point where it burns, but just to the point where it's starting to irritate your eyes a little bit, walk away, let the tears flow. This works well, too, and oftentimes if you have an eye infection or a sty. I'm not saying it's a medicine, but your tears actually have antibiotics in them, natural antibiotics. So if you have an eye infection, the tears themselves can help deal with that. So chopping onions, make yourself cry. Don't get to the point where you're screaming in pain. And then take the onions and use them in your food. You can eat them raw or cooked, because onions have something in it called quercetin. And quercetin is a natural antihistamine. So you get a double whammy here. You get the tears running, and you get a natural antihistamine out of it. Whenever you do anything that grows underground, onions, potatoes, carrots, always make sure it's organic. Because if it's underground, it can be absorbing toxic chemicals, pollutants, pesticides. and you want to make sure you get organic under the ground. Certain things you always want to do organic. If you're going to eat the skin, for example, like an apple, you want to do organic. If you're going to do watermelon, organic is a good idea, but if it's not organic, just wash it really well with soap and water, because if there's any bacteria, viruses, germs, when you cut into it, it can push it in. But if you're not going to eat the skin, if it's not organic, just wash it really good first. If you're going to eat the skin or if it grows underground, make sure that's organic. So people say, well, I don't want to eat all organic. Well, I understand that. It's not really practical. I eat mostly organic, but if I go out, probably not going to be organic. I always say monitor the 90% of what you eat. And the 10%, I'll give you a little leeway here and there. Because your body has amazing healing capabilities. You just have to give it the opportunity. So dry eyes can be an autoimmune condition, and deal with the autoimmune condition. The two things you want to avoid if you have autoimmune issues is dairy products, and you want to avoid wheat. So dairy is the number one food allergen. Wheat is the number two food allergen. So just be careful with dairy and wheat. If you have an autoimmune disease, I strongly advise you drop them out of your diet. Totally. And this way the body can work better. So if you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about warning signs your body's giving you and you don't know what they mean. Another one you want to look at is ridges in your fingernails. Having ridges in your fingernails can mean a couple of different things, the most common one being a vitamin or a nutrient deficiency. So if you look at this, it includes vitamin A, B, C, D, E, zinc, selenium. There could be other things going on with fingernails as well. If they look bumpy, if they're curved, they're enlarged, that could actually be a sign of a lung disease. So you're looking at your fingernails going, oh, my fingernails are all gnarly. Well, that could be a very serious issue, and you want to get that checked. The symptom happens slowly, and it's due to a low amount of oxygen in your blood, and that's a problem. So if we have low amount of oxygen in the blood, it could be called anemia. And there's a couple of things you can do. There's two types of iron that you can take as a supplement. It's called heme and non-heme. Heme means it comes from blood, usually. There's new research out that that's not always true. And then non-heme comes from plants. So heme iron would be meat, liver, organs, things like that. But what we found recently is that soybeans can have heme iron in them. And that's one of the reasons these new hamburgers that came out, these plant-based burgers, may taste like meat because they have heme in it coming from the soybeans. I'm not a big fan of the soybean burgers, especially if it's a textured soy protein. You can read the ingredients. And what they do is they take the soy protein, they add chemicals to it to make it change its structure, and it has more of a meaty texture to it. It tastes like meat because it has heme in it, and that's what you're eating when you eat meat. You eat the blood and saying, ooh, I like to taste the blood. So I like the non-heme version of iron, and that would come from plants. Anything red and anything green is going to give you iron. So strawberries, cherries, watermelon, green leafy vegetables, these are very high in iron. Now with heme iron, it's absorbed pretty easily. Non-heme iron, you have to have vitamin C with it in order to get proper absorption, but nature took care of that for you. Plants have vitamin C that have the non-heme iron in them, and so the problem is solved. But ridges in the fingernails can be an issue. And just be careful. Another thing you can do to test, real rudimentary test, to see how your iron levels are is squeeze your fingernail with your other hand and then let it go. It should turn pink relatively quickly. If it stays white after you squeeze it for about 5 seconds. If it stays white, that could be a sign of low iron. And so a simple check for you to do is go donate blood. When you donate blood, they're going to check your iron levels. They're going to check your blood pressure, and they do a rudimentary scan for diseases as well. So it's a kind of a cheap way to get a blood test. And I highly recommend that men and postmenopausal women donate blood as often as they can. Because you can get too much iron in your blood. And too much iron is actually worse than not enough iron. And so too much iron can actually increase your risk of heart disease. Because the iron, simply put, starts to rust. Again, simply put. And that can cause damage to your blood vessels. So men and postmenopausal women, it's a good idea to donate blood every chance you can. Don't go eat the cookies and the soda that they give you or the juices afterwards. That's just a bunch of sugar. I always bring my own water with me. And when I donate blood, I just drink my own water and I walk out. A lot of times now, even the American Red Cross will give you a $10 gift card if you donate blood. Sometimes I know if it's a shortage, they'll give you a $20 gift card. So you get a little perk. Sometimes they give you T-shirts, socks I saw the other day. So it's just a great way to stay healthy, but it's also you get a little perk for it too. And if you're healthy and donating blood, I always look at it this way. Somebody's scoring really big if they get a pint of my blood because it's going to be really healthy. And I don't mind doing that. I have no idea who gets it. It's kind of one of those, good deeds that you can never get repaid for. And it just makes me feel good. And I always feel great when I give blood too, not only emotionally, but physically. It's kind of a neat little thing. So we're talking today about signs and symptoms your body is telling you that there's something wrong. If you have white patches inside your mouth, I remember this on little kids, that could be an issue. You have it on your tongue, your cheeks, the inside, the upper part of your mouth. It's called leukoplakia. It's a painless condition, and it could be the precursor to oral cancer. And that's one of the reasons why when you go to the dentist, they'll pull your lips up and they'll look underneath your tongue. They'll grab your tongue and move it around. So they're looking for it. Usually harmless, but it could be a problem. It's usually linked to alcohol, tobacco use. When I say kids, it may not be leukoplakia. It might be thrush. They might have a yeast infection. And so that's why with kids, you'll see white stuff in the mouth as well. If you see any of these things, talk to your dentist. Don't avoid that. Oh, it tain't nothing. You've heard me talk about tain't nothing patients in the past. Oh, that tain't nothing. Don't worry about it. No, it is something. When you have these signs, test it. Now, when it comes to the tongue is a great way to monitor your health. And here's an old thing, comes, I think, from ancient China, if I remember correctly, is when you wake up tomorrow morning, before you drink or eat or brush your teeth or speak or anything, take a metal spoon and scrape your tongue from back to front and do it a couple of times until you cover your whole tongue. Look at the spoon. If it's coated with this white, yucky mucus, chances are your body is very toxic and your liver is detoxifying over the night. And so if that happens, as you start to change your diet, you start doing supplements, you start eating right, getting the digestive system working, you'll find every couple of weeks when you scrape it, it gets better and better and better. So it really is a cool little test you can do, and it's something that you can do for free. Another test you can do to see if you do have a yeast infection is take a clear glass of water and put it next to your bed tonight. Well, you're going to do one or the other. You can scrape the tongue. Next day, you can do the water. And as soon as you wake up in the morning, again, before you speak or eat or drink anything, take a big mouthful of spit. You can scrape your tongue with your teeth, get a mouthful of spit, and spit into this clear glass of water. And if you start to see tentacles coming down, kind of looks like an octopus type thing, that's a sign that you might have a systemic yeast infection. Systemic means through your whole system. And if that's the case, it's something you really want to address because it's not something you want to take lightly because a yeast infection sometimes is essentially benign, but it can become really serious. Why would you get a yeast infection? Well, it could be you took antibiotics. Antibiotics kill off the good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria, but it doesn't kill off the yeast. So in your colon, you have good bacteria, bad bacteria, and yeast. Killing off the bacteria, the yeast goes, oh, I have no competition for food. I'm going to start making little baby yeasts. And it kind of fills up your colon with yeast. And then the yeast says, essentially, I'm bored. I don't want to hang out in the colon anymore. Let's go on vacation. So there's little gaps that can form in your colon called leaky gut. When I went to school years ago, leaky gut, oh, that's voodoo stuff, that's quackery. Now it's taught in medical schools. So we were right all along. And you get these leaky guts, and pieces of this yeast can get into your blood system, and then it travels through your blood system and says, I want to set up shop in a warm, moist place that I'm not going to be bothered. So where could that be? Well, how about your feet? How about vagina? How about your rectum? How about under folds of skin? Mouth, armpits. So this is where you can get yeast infections. And if you do this little test, it can kind of tell it. If you have it, you might want to send me an email through my website, drjoe.com, and I'll send you the protocol I recommend for my patients. It's not easy to get rid of. This is not I got a headache, I take an aspirin, my headache goes away. You have to start killing off the yeast. And when you do, one of the side effects that occurs is that you may feel bad because all this dead yeast is in your body. And then the body has to kick in the immune system to carry this dead yeast bodies out of your system. So you might have brain fog, fatigue, but it's just part of the detoxification process. But systemic yeast can really impact your body on many, many different levels, and you want to get rid of it. So if you have these white patches in your mouth, it could be a problem, but now you know how to test for it. So what we're doing today is we're talking about signs and symptoms your body is telling you that there's something wrong. If you always feel cold, everybody else is normal and you're not, well, not everybody else is wrong, you're probably wrong. Could be a thyroid issue. It happens when your cells slow down and burn less energy, which in turn means your body produces less heat. and that could make you feel cold. Constantly feeling cold, it could be anemia, it could be peripheral artery disease, something called Raynaud's phenomenon. That's a condition with more obvious signs. I'll talk about that in a second, but that's when your hands turn blue and get really cold for no reason. I'll talk about Raynaud's phenomenon in a minute. Let me talk about it now. What I find many times, you have pinched nerves in the lower part of your neck because that's the nerve and blood supply to your hands. And so I've had patients with Raynaud's phenomenon, it used to be called Raynaud's disease. And when we adjust them and then get them on supplements, things like nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels and increases circulation through the body. Many cases that resolves. Because it used to be called a phenomenon. It's still called phenomenon, actually. Phenomenon means we're not quite sure what causes it. Well, I know if it's a pinched nerve and a circulatory issue, we can probably address that through chiropractic care and through supplements like nitric oxide. Don't take nitric oxide support if you have low blood pressure. Only take it if you have normal or high blood pressure. I take it every day. I have normal blood pressure, but it opens up my blood supply to my brain, my heart, my lungs. Many men use it for romantic assistance instead of little blue pills. If the little blue pills don't work, it's usually because you're low in nitric oxide. If I give you nitric oxide support, many times you don't need a little blue pill. And we check the nerve supply. We have a whole protocol for men with ED. But we always want to try to get to the cause of the problems and not just treat the symptoms. So Raynaud's phenomenon could be an issue. If you're always cold, we want to test your thyroid hormones. We do something called a Dutch test, D-U-T-C-H. And it's a urine test because I can draw your blood and it'll tell me, hey, this is what I got at this moment in time. But the Dutch test talks about the different types of estrogen. Do you know 3 different types of estrogen? I'm not testing for estrogen. I'm testing for the 3 types. Is it being broken down? Is it being passed out? Do you have more one than the other? Are you converting testosterone into estrogen? And the Dutch test gives me a lot more information than a blood test, and I'm able to determine what's going to be the best direction for your specific hormone issue. And it's for men and women. So Dutch test is the way I like to do it when it comes to these things. And then we can recommend supplementation, lifestyle changes. If you need medication, you need to go to your primary doctor. But I work very closely with primary doctors, surgeons, orthopedists, neurologists to try to help the patient get well. And most doctors love having this assistant because most of the doctors I know are just super genius brilliant. But they're not taught nutrition. They're not taught neurological care. They're not taught how to fix the digestive system. And so most doctors, if they're really smart, are like, hey, if you know somebody who can treat this naturally and work with me, happy to work with them. And that's why we get referrals all the time from doctors and lawyers and insurance companies, because people want to get to the cause of their problem and not just treat the symptoms. If you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. You can choose the doctor you want to see, the office you want to see, the time you want to do it. My staff will call you, confirm everything. We accept most insurances. Depends on your policy. Don't yell at me if your policy doesn't cover it. It's your insurance fault, not mine. Get a better insurance. Well, there aren't really good insurances anymore. But you can do that. Normally, the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, we've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. We can do it remotely. We can do it in person. But we always want to get to the cause of your problem, not just treat the symptoms. You can't do x-rays, obviously, remotely. But if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Stop suffering needlessly. One of the symptoms that's a warning sign something's wrong is pain. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, you can cover it up with medication, and sometimes that's fine, but it doesn't treat the cause. The number one cause of back pain, by far, is pinched nerves. And the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain, in most cases, is chiropractic care. Why wouldn't you do the most effective, least expensive treatment of anything? Certainly chiropractic care fits right in there. And in our office, we also work on the digestive system. We do dietary workups on all our patients. We really dig deep. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, take that as a warning sign. It's your body telling you something's wrong. Get it checked. Hopefully, I'm right. Hopefully, it's a pinched nerve. That's the easy one to fix. Every now and then, it's something more serious. The sooner we can get to it and diagnose it, the sooner we can get treatment, whether with us or another doctor or a surgeon or whatever you need. We're going to try to direct you in the right place to get the best care possible. So, and also, if you have any questions, the website is there 24 hours a day. You could send me the question. I'm happy to answer your questions. drjoe.com. Happy to do that for you. So once again, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're trying to get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. And stop suffering needlessly. Come see us. Another thing that could be a warning sign that something's wrong is intense dreams. Now, some people, I dream, I remember my dreams pretty vividly. We dream every night. All of us do. Most of us do. But if you really have intense dreams, people have regular nightmares, distressing dreams, they can be experiencing early signs of neurological issues like Parkinson's disease. The brain is essentially short-circuiting. Again, that's really simply put. Other health issues can play a role as well. And if you have these symptoms, it's important to talk to somebody who's an expert in the field. So if we have a condition where we think somebody needs psychological help, we have therapists we work with. If you have the other issue that many times can cause dreaming issues is a digestive problem. Your stomach has one main job, and that job is to digest proteins. So protein is everywhere. It's in carrots, it's in celery, it's in steak, it's in cheese, it's in eggs. Everything, I think, aside from water, has some type of protein, and it's what makes the cell wall work. So you don't need more protein. We did a show on this last week. You need actually quality protein. Big difference. And so if you're not digesting your proteins properly, proteins break down into something called amino acids. The amino acid, there's 20 amino acids in the diet. The amino acid tryptophan becomes serotonin in the brain, and serotonin helps you focus and be happy. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. And so it's really important that if you're not sleeping well, or if you're waking up a lot, not getting to sleep, waking up when you do fall asleep, you want to check your digestive system to see if you're digesting your proteins properly. And in most cases, the cause of that is the stomach pushing up into the diaphragm. And that can cause heartburn, acid reflux, bloating, big belly, gas, bad breath. And in many cases, my doctors and I are able to pull the stomach, adjust the stomach down away from the diaphragm. It doesn't hurt. And if we can do that, many times you're able to digest your proteins to produce the neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitters help the brain work. And there we got to the problem. Treating the problem, not the symptoms. So again, we're talking today about symptoms that could be a sign of something much more serious. So if you do have questions, folks, always go to my website, drjoe.com. Send me your questions. You can search the website if you want. We have over 4,000 hours of content on the website, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media. We post every single day. We're putting out some really good posts lately with graphics and pictures, 1-minute posts. I'm going to give you 1-minute health tips on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. YouTube, you get the long version too. If you want to listen to the long version, it's on YouTube. And if you don't like it, unfollow it. But we give you so much information, absolutely free. Why do we do this? I want to be your doctor. I want to help get you well. I want to keep you well. I'm tired of getting ripped off. I'm tired of bait and switches. I mean, we all see it on the internet. It's all the time. Hey, look at this. And then you go there. It's not even that. I'm going to give you all this information. You can do with what you want. My goal is to recommend you supplements, chiropractic care, maybe a medical care. Try to get you to the direct, to the people that can give you the best care possible without getting a runaround. Every day on the website, every day on my radio shows, every day in my offices, people come in and say, I've been to this, and this doctor, and they keep telling me nothing's wrong. I have pain. I can't sleep. I have urinary incontinence. They tell me nothing's wrong. What am I supposed to do? We try to get to the cause. Is it a nerve issue? Is it a digestive issue? Is it a dietary issue? Is it a nutrient deficiency issue? And many times I'm right. So drjoe.com is a great place to go. We're talking today about signs and symptoms your body is giving you, telling you that there's something wrong. If you have white or blue fingers, again, we talked about that earlier, Raynaud's disease or Raynaud's syndrome. And we said earlier, it could be a pinched nerve, could be a circulatory issue. Let's always try to find out why. Because if you're having circulation issues in your hands, you're probably having circulation issues elsewhere. I just noticed I got to go to break. Got so much to cover. Any questions, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media. Just look up Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. YouTube, you're going to get the whole version of the lectures, not just the 1-minute cut up. So it depends what you like. Podcast. We do 2 podcasts a week. Just type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. We post at least 2 a week, sometimes more. They're all chronologically listed, so you can look them up. And the supplements we talked about, the nitric oxide, of course, the minimum supplements everybody should take, Super Green, Essential Source, all of those are on the website in the store section. drjoe.com. But stop suffering needlessly. Best thing you can do is either send me a question or come see us. Let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems, not just treat the symptoms. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're right, Josh. I'm not going to get close to what I wrote. Josh is my IT guy sitting next to me. And I told him I have about 5 different articles I want to discuss and things I made notes on. And he said, I predict you will not get through 16. I said, you're right, because I just got through 6. And so, anyway, Josh is right. I'm wrong. What do you got, John?
This morning I had walnuts and blueberries and I feel great. Should I add an avocado or something else going forward?
Sure. Why not? Won't hurt. Avocados are great. If you eat too many of them, I get fat. So I got to be careful not to eat too many because they are high in calories. But yeah, the lighter you eat, take Super Greens and Essential Source. If you really want to boost, add vitamin B complex and nitric oxide to it, man, you'll be buzzing. Most people think I'm about 15 years younger than I am. Works. What else you got?
How much magnesium do I need? Which foods are high in magnesium?
Nuts and legumes are high in magnesium. So it really depends on your diet. It depends on other things. I can't just say what do you need specifically. But I take Essential Source, which has magnesium in it. I eat a plant-based diet, and my magnesium is perfectly fine. So Super Greens and Essential Source, minimum supplements everybody should be taking. B complex, of course, we pee out our B vitamins every day. But if you're eating fruit, nuts and seeds and legumes, you should be getting plenty of magnesium. So, yep. John's popular today.
Should I have a spoonful of apple cider vinegar in the morning or evening?
I recommend it in the morning. It alkalizes the system. It helps stimulate the digestive enzymes. It has probiotics in it, good bacteria. I don't like tart foods. I don't like vinegars. I don't like things. So I'll mix it as a salad dressing. So I'll take the apple cider vinegar with extra virgin organic olive oil and make a salad dressing with it, and that's easier to get down in my system. If you can take it straight, rinse out your mouth with water afterwards. It is an acid, or mix it with water. Take it in the morning. It'll give you a burst of energy, too. So organic, make sure.
What are some healthy toppings for a baked potato?
Sauteed onions and mushrooms. You want to use coconut oil, though. That works really well. Salsa is also a nice topping for it as well. If you want to use an oil, extra virgin organic olive oil instead of butter, works nicely as well. Air-dried sea salt or Celtic salt and pepper is very good. You can do multiple mixes of seasonings, like a Mrs. Dash type thing. It's not organic, of course, but you can do something like that. You can use, if you want to use extra virgin olive oil and you want to do Italian flair, you can do Italian seasoning. You want to do an Asian flair, do some ginger. Turmeric if you want to do an Indian flair. So all that works well. I like them all. I don't have a favorite.
How would garlic powder be?
Garlic powder is great, too. Organic garlic powder is wonderful on that, John. Good call there. Yeah, I like that, too. I get really bad garlic breath, though, so I have to plan my garlic. Like, I'll eat garlic on a Sunday afternoon knowing I'm doing a radio show on Sunday night because nobody can be near me when I'm on a radio, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, but garlic works great. Garlic is so good for you on so many different levels. So, what else you got?
That is all.
All right, guys, ready for part 2. Got to stay hydrated. Where was I? Right now it's Phenomenon. All right, we're good. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you stayed with us, I always appreciate that. I know you guys are busy, and so thanks for staying with me. Again, I try to give you so much information every time we do a show, and I've been on the air now for about 17 years, and I've been lecturing for 45 years. I never want somebody to walk away and say, I didn't learn anything today. Some of the stuff you may have heard before, some of the stuff, you don't have to agree with me either, by the way. As long as you listen and pick up what you can use. I'm right, by the way, just so you know. But you don't agree with it, that's okay. You just haven't been educated enough, and that's my job, is educate you to the point where you understand it. And you don't have to do everything. Try to do something every day that's going to be beneficial for your health. It's not hard to do. And when you do, the rewards are very large. Very low investment, very high reward when it comes to health. All right, so we're talking today about signs and symptoms that you may have and you don't realize that they're a serious issue. Feeling spaced out, feeling fatigued, spaced out, forgetful, that can be a sign of a thyroid condition. You can have hypothyroidism, and that can be an issue. So notice that. Other issues that can occur with an underactive thyroid, that means the gland is producing hormones, is you could put on weight. Like I said, you could be cold a lot. Thyroid conditions are oftentimes misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. And one of the big issues that I see with the thyroid, I did a real good show on thyroid, by the way. Go to my website, drjoe.com, type thyroid in the search bar. We cover a whole bunch of thyroid stuff there. One of the issues is your thyroid needs something called iodine. Iodine is necessary for just about every cell in your body. And the hormones that your thyroid makes is called T1, T2, T3, and T4. And T3 and 4 are the main ones. And T4 has 4 molecules of iodine. T3 has 3 molecules, T2, 2, and so on. And your body needs iodine for the thyroid to function normally. I'm going to ask you a rhetorical question. Where do you get your iodine from? In the American diet, it's usually salt, iodized salt. And that's about it. And we need more iodine in our diet. So many times people are diagnosed with thyroid issues because they just don't have enough iodine. Not always, but many times. So what's a simple fix for that? Get more iodine. Well, how do you get more iodine? Sea vegetables. Sea vegetables are the best source of iodine. Now, most of you are not eating sea vegetables. I know this because we live in America. You might have sushi every now and then with a little bit of seaweed on it, and you go, ooh, that's a sea vegetable. That's about it, though. So when I created Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, they're 2 powders, and those are the minimum supplements you should be taking every day. I added sea vegetables to both of them. You won't taste it, I promise you. It has absolutely no flavor whatsoever. But the sea vegetables are an excellent source of iodine. And so I recommend everybody take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source every day. There is a caveat. It's on the website, and you can read the caveat to explain what to do about it. But Super Greens and Essential Source, minimum supplements every single day. There are 2 powders. I take a scoop of each. This morning I just had it with water. I didn't have any coconut milk or almond milk, so I just shook it up with some water. Tastes fine even with water. Some people mix it with plant-based yogurt. You can put it in a smoothie if you want to. Frozen banana, Super Greens Essential Source, little plant-based milk. Makes a nice creamy, rich smoothie. I always add 10 drops of Dr. Joe's vitamin D with K2. With K2 is the key catchphrase there. And I put that in as well. And I start every day with Super Greens and Essential Source and vitamin D. You should too. It's extremely inexpensive. The benefits are just incredible. And people ask me all the time, how did I live without this, Dr. Joe? How come nobody else ever told me about this, Dr. Joe? Dr. Joe, I can't afford not to take this. I love that one. I hear that a lot. And first time I didn't get it. I said, what do you mean you can't afford not to take it? They said, I work better, I feel better, I have more energy, I go to the bathroom better. Overall, my whole life has improved dramatically. And so for literally a couple of bucks a day, way cheaper than coffee, I'm getting all these benefits. Wow. Now, there's 2 types of Super Greens, plain and mint. I like the mint. The plain is a little earthy flavor. If you did that and it's earthy, try the mint. I think you'll be perfectly fine. It has stevia in it, it has mint flavor in it, and I mixed the 2 together, and I'm perfectly fine with it. So we have some new flavors coming out pretty soon, too. But please, at least Super Greens and Essential Source, because that's not only a source of iodine, it's a source of so many other nutrients. But you've got to get your iodine, folks. And so many of you are deficient in it, and you're seeing all these other symptoms. Never, ever have you put it together and said, oh, that's iodine problems, because it can be a little tough to diagnose that. So just take Super Greens and Essential Source. Really solves the problem then. Other issues with feeling spaced out could be a circulatory issue. Almost every day in my practice, I look at x-rays every day, but many times I see hardening of the arteries. And if I see it on an x-ray, it's already in its advanced stages. Now, you can get scans for the whole body to determine your calcium score. Really important to do. So another supplement I take every day is nitric oxide. It's a nitric oxide support. And it opens up my blood vessels, increases circulation to my heart, my lungs, my sex organs, my liver, my spleen. And I get a really good rush of energy when I take my nitric oxide as a side effect, a good side effect. And so if that's my issue, I take some nitric oxide, I feel great. Whenever I do a radio show, TV show, lecturing, I always take some nitric oxide beforehand, keeps my brain working. Because if you listen to my shows in the past, we cover a lot of ground in a very short period of time. How does my brain process all that? I give it really good nutrients, and I give it really good circulation. And it makes you feel good, too. So nitric oxide is another one. And all the supplements we talk about, Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide, B-complex, vitamin D, we have 18 altogether. They're all on the website, drjoe.com. And just go to the website, drjoe.com, click on the store link on top, Get your super greens, get your essential source, get your B complex, your vitamin D. Again, cheaper than coffee every day. And give it a month. Give it 2 months and see what happens. I can't guarantee it, but almost everyone comes to me and says, Dr. Joe, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was so deficient in nutrients. And for a very slight investment, you're going to get such a bonus, such a benefit. So drjoe.com, and send me questions through the website. If you have questions, you can book appointments, come see us. And we've got over 4,000 hours of content on the website, so you can just type in a search bar what you're looking for. We got a lot on there. And again, if you don't have your answer there, just send me an email, and I'm happy to answer your questions for you. Another sign and symptom that you don't want to ignore is constant bloating. It can be caused by a lot of different things. The most common is you're not digesting your food properly. So the food is passing from your stomach into your small intestine, partially digested. There, it essentially rots. And when it rots, it gives off gases, and the gases cause the bloating. Now, we all have natural gas every day. That's just part of being a human. And actually, it's a sign. If I take an x-ray on you, I should see a gas pattern in your colon. It goes up, across, and down in your abdomen. And I should see a gas pattern. If I don't, something's wrong. In fact, I remember when I was studying for my orthopedic board, one of the x-rays on the test was a perfect x-ray, perfectly aligned. Everything was healthy. The bones looked nice and thick. What's wrong with this patient? Nobody got it right. I got it wrong. The answer was he's dead. And we thought, how do you know he's dead from an x-ray? You didn't see a gas pattern. So you have to see a gas pattern in order to know that the body is working. And if it's too much or too little, it can be a problem. But I digress. If you're not digesting your food properly, it can cause gas, and that can cause the bloating. So the most common thing that I find is that the stomach, which sits below the diaphragm, pushes up into the diaphragm. And when that happens, the food is passing, again, partially digested. But you might have heartburn, acid reflux, burping, bad breath. And the technique we use on most of these cases is we can actually physically massage or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. And when we do, it helps with digestion, but it also helps you absorb nutrients more efficiently. And it helps break proteins into amino acids to produce neurotransmitters, which makes your brain work better. I've seen a lot of patients in my 40 years, and everyone that's ever come in with ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, can't focus properly, every one of them has a digestive problem. I've never been wrong. Now, you may be the first one, but I've never been wrong. It's not maybe the only cause, but it's a cause. So by pulling the stomach away from the diaphragm, getting you on good nutrients like super greens and essential source, maybe I'll get you on digestive enzymes to help the digestive system work more efficiently. We're able to break down the food more efficiently, and it works. Now, other reasons for bloating could be constipation. The bowels aren't moving. Bowels, by the way, should move at least once a day, preferably twice a day. If it's not moving at least that much, something's wrong. You could have an intolerance to things like wheat or dairy products. So that means you want to give up wheat and dairy for a month and see what happens. And if you do great, great. If you don't do great, well, then I was wrong. I'm not wrong, by the way. Severe cases, it could be an issue like ovarian cancer. That can cause the abdominal cavity to build up excess fluid. So that's not so much gas. It's actually when you push on it, it feels like liquid, as opposed to gas is really hard when you push on it. So the problem with digestion many times is mechanical, not chemical. I'm going to say that again. Not just digestion. Many health problems are mechanical, not chemical, and we treat them chemically. So what does that mean? I can give you antacids. I can give you heartburn medication, trying to treat it chemically when the problem is that the stomach is physically out of place. So that's why we try, when a patient comes in to see us, we check the physical. We check the nerve supply. We check the alignment. We check the structure. But we also check the chemistry. We do a nutrition workup on all of our patients, and we check their digestive system. So when you become a patient with us, we're going to check your nervous system, we're going to check your digestive system, we're going to talk about your diet. That, I believe, are the three links that you have to have in order to obtain and maintain good health. If you're missing one of them, you're not going to get to your goals in most cases. So if you have a health issue, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, fatigue, nutritional concerns, go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com, book an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. I want to be your doctor. I want to help get you well. I want to help keep you well. And so stop suffering needlessly. Go to drjoe.com. Book your appointment right now. Normally, the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. You're not going to get x-rays at that cost anywhere else. You're not going to get a nutrition evaluation at that cost anywhere else. I want to do it all because I want to determine what's going to be the best course of treatment for you. Is it chiropractic? Is it medical? Is it supplements? Is it drugs? Is it surgery? I don't know that. Let's find out what's going to be the best treatment for you. Almost always, the best treatment is let's get the spine lined up, let's get the stomach fixed, and let's get your diet straightened out. Majority of patients do that. And they all come in and say, how come my other doctors never told me that? Dr. Joe, I've been suffering all these years. I'm angry that nobody ever told me to check those 3 things. I don't have that answer. Now you do, though. Come see me. drjoe.com. We accept most insurances. It depends what your insurance policy covers. And if you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. So you're going to get calls from scammers. They're called runners or ambulance chasers. Go see this doctor. Go see this lawyer. Oh, your doctor told me to tell you to go see this doctor. Oh, I work for Dr. Joe, and he said go see this other doctor. Don't believe it. Call me if you need to. Send me an email. I'll tell you if it's true or not. Just like everything else, you gotta verify. And there's so many scams out there, and I don't want you falling victim because you're not going to get the care that you need. You're not going to get the legal representation that you need in a car accident. So drjoe.com. Even if you cause the accident, remember, 50% accidents caused by somebody else. If you're that somebody else, you still need to come see us because you're hurt. And if you're hurt, you want to get it fixed because I would hate to have you cause an accident and then years later have all these other collateral injuries that you never got treated, and it really affects every aspect of your life for the rest of your life. Let's get it fixed. Mistakes happen. I get it. Let's get them fixed. drjoe.com. We're talking today about signs and symptoms that you don't want to ignore. They're telling you that there's something wrong. If you have a puffy face, that could be hyperthyroidism. Because a puffy face is also a sign of adrenal problems, we want to try to find out what it is. It's called moon face. Could be adrenal problems. The puffy face could be a hyperthyroid issue. If you have muscle weakness, thinning hair, it could be the thyroid not producing enough hormones. If not treated, it can lead to very serious issues like heart disease and even infertility. So don't take this lightly. Something's wrong. Come see us. We can do a Dutch test. We can do hormone testing. We can do x-rays. We can do a neurological and chiropractic evaluations. We can check your digestive system, check your diet. Most doctors might do a fraction of one of those things. We want to do it all. Let's get to the cause of your problem, drjoe.com. Hair loss could be a thyroid problem. Could be you're just getting old. It happens as we get older. Hair does fall out. It's okay. It's part of the aging process. But we want to find out, is it something more serious like a thyroid issue? I had somebody send me an email just, I think it was yesterday or today, I can't remember, and her son has alopecia. Alopecia is spotty hair loss. Now, that could be an autoimmune disease, could be a fungus, could be a digestive issue, could be malnutrition. So, it's a symptom. It's telling you something's wrong. You don't want to take a drug to just cover up a symptom. Well, sometimes you can, but always try to get to the cause as well. And so if you have these issues, come see us. Let's see. If you have a bitter or sour taste in your mouth, having a constant bitter or sour taste could be acid reflux. That could also eat away at your teeth, eat away at your gums, bad breath. And this acid reflux can go all the way up into your sinuses. I've had countless patients over the years. They take antihistamines. They gave up wheat. They gave up dairy products, still having sinus problems every day. I checked their stomach is allowing acid to come up into their esophagus and all the way up into their sinuses. And when we fix their stomach, the sinus problems go away because the acid is actually irritating it. I've had many singers come to me and they had irritated vocal cords, and that was a problem. If you know the rock star Eddie Money, Eddie Money worked with me at my radio station for a while, big fan of my show. And I didn't know this, but he eventually got esophageal cancer and died. And I thought to myself, Eddie, I was right there with you, man. Had you told me, I could have tried to pull your stomach away from the diaphragm. Would have it fixed it? I don't know. Certainly worth a shot, though. If it didn't work, it didn't work. And I was with him a lot. And I was like, ugh, I wish I'd got my hands on it. I wish he'd told me. So don't ignore these symptoms. If there's an issue, get it checked. If there's nothing wrong, I'll tell you right out, hey, listen, there's nothing wrong. This is not a chiropractic case. This is not something I think I can work on, and you need to go somewhere else. But the acid reflux, if you have it, I don't know the words to say to make you come see us because it's not something you want to play with. And if you're taking antacid medications, these anti-acid medications, many times they slow down your acid production. You need acid to digest proteins, And you also need it to absorb calcium, B12, iron, and magnesium. So you may go into malnutrition even if you're eating the right foods because the drugs have side effects. Read the directions. I know this is going to be novel for a lot of you. Read the directions on your drugs. The directions on your drugs, especially for these, are going to tell you only take short term. Do not take long term. Well, the problem is, what do I do if I can't take it long term? This is now an option. Am I right? I don't know. Let's find out. I usually am. And biggest complaint I get, been in practice 40 years, get it every day. Why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer for so long, Dr. Joe? I love this one. I've been meaning to come see you. I heard you speak 45 years ago when you were a student. And I heard you speak, and I always thought, I should go see this guy. And here they are suffering 40 years later. I should have come seeing you 40 years ago. I said, yeah, you should have. Now the problem is really advanced, and I can only get so much results. I won't be able to get the results I could have got 40 years ago. So don't wait. drjoe.com. Just book your appointment. Other signs and symptoms that there's something wrong. Loss of smell. Now, since COVID came along, a lot of people with loss of smell have, it's long COVID. I did a show a while ago on long COVID. You can go to my website and look it up. But that's one of the symptoms. Now, I had COVID, and I couldn't smell or taste anything, and it's the weirdest thing. It's like, I know what this is supposed to taste like. I got nothing. I'm smelling this. I smell nothing. Now, it's a problem. The viruses, we believe, affect the brain, the part of the brain that interprets smell. So it wasn't really in your nose. It was in your brain. Your brain wasn't able to interpret it. But over time, it got better, and everything's fine. But it also can be an early sign of Parkinson's disease. Now, it's important to note that an appointment with your doctor to bring this up and let them know. If the doctor ignores it, and this drives me crazy, when patients come in and say, well, I went to my doctor and he said they can't find anything wrong. Whether it's, not smelling properly, or you have pain, or you have numbness, you have brain fog. Just because one doctor can't find something wrong doesn't mean there's nothing wrong. Obviously, there's something wrong, or else you wouldn't be here talking to me. And then we get to the cause. They always say, why didn't somebody tell me sooner? So just come to us first, drjoe.com. But loss of smell can be a very serious issue. You start having twitching muscles. It's really important you take it seriously and come see us or see somebody. It could be an early sign of a motor neuron disease. Now, fasciculations is you can see the muscle twitching. Fibrillations is you feel it twitch, but you can't see it twitch. Again, not important either one, but when you start feeling the muscles twitch, it's an issue. If your eyelid twitches, it's called blepharospasm. Again, probably nothing to worry about. Give it a day or two, it probably goes away. But if it continues and it's persistent, could be a pinched nerve, could be a neurological disease, could be a nutritional deficiency. You don't want to jerk around with this stuff. You want to get to the cause of the problems and not just treat the symptoms. The biggest problem I see are people waiting too long and then going to a doctor, and doctor says there's nothing wrong, and them accepting that as an answer. There's something wrong, do it. I mean, I have a car, and I'm very unhappy I bought this car because my mechanics are just always lying to me. And then I went to another mechanic. He's like, no, there's the problem right there. So, wow. I knew there was something wrong. They're saying, no, it's driving fine. No, it's not. It's sputtering. It doesn't have any pickup. And no, it's fine. No, it's not fine. I wouldn't be wasting my time here if it was fine. I want you to think about that with your health. Just because somebody says they can't figure it out doesn't mean it can't be figured out. And my team of doctors and I are really good investigators. We like trying to find out what's wrong. Another sign you don't want to ignore, if you're always thirsty, could be a number of reasons. Hyperglycemia, you have too much sugar in your blood, diabetics, that's a sign of diabetes. High blood pressure, kidney problems because your kidneys are not working properly, and other things that can cause issues like this would be dehydration. Now, you may be drinking water, but maybe not absorbing it properly because your kidneys aren't working properly. So you could be drinking it and peeing it out. You could be drinking a lot of water, but maybe you have a condition where you produce a lot of antidiuretic hormone, or you don't produce enough antidiuretic hormone, and you pee a lot. So if you're thirsty a lot, that could be a sign that something's wrong. When you're a baby, there's a part of your brain that controls hunger and a part of your brain that controls thirst. It's in the hypothalamus. When you become a toddler, those two parts of the brain grow together, and you have a tough time distinguishing between hunger and thirst. And so if it's an issue with the hypothalamus, it can be a problem. But if you have those issues, come see us. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. And if you have a skin condition, itchy skin, rashes on the skin, almost always it goes back to the digestive system and your diet. And some of the things you might have is tinea versicolor. Tinea versicolor, white spots on your skin, and when you scratch them, it looks kind of flaky. Tinea versicolor is a fungus. It's a sign that you probably have a systemic yeast infection. We talked about that earlier. And so you can take drugs that can kill off the yeast, but can also cause liver damage. If you have the yeast infection, it's a long-term problem. And the reason I know about this is I had this. I remember sitting with my shirt off when I was in high school, eating dinner at my kitchen table. My mother had these beautiful long fingernails, and she would scratch my back, and it felt so good. And she was scratching my back, and she says, "It's all flaky back here. What's going on?" And it was worse when I sweat. When I played football, of course, I sweated a lot. And finally, when I got to college, I was talking to one of my professors, and he worked in Vietnam in the jungles. And he looked at it. He goes, "Let me get a black light," or a woods lamp, it's called. And he shined a black light on it, and it just lit up. And he said, "You have tinea versicolor. You have a fungus. Probably came from a systemic yeast infection." Never heard that before. Took me years to get rid of it. Now it's gone. Okay, but it's not something you want to ignore because it's telling you that it's a warning sign that there's something else going on. So whenever I see skin issues, I always think liver and digestion. Not always right, but that's always the direction I go in. And if your feet swell a lot, it could be a circulatory issue, could be a liver issue. There's two types of swelling in your feet called pitting and non-pitting edema. Pitting edema is I push on it and it stays there like Play-Doh. That's pitting edema. That's usually a sign of kidney or heart condition. You don't want to jerk around with that. You want to get to a medical doctor immediately for that. If I push on it, it bounces back. That's called non-pitting edema. Could be pinched nerves in your low back. It could be a circulatory issue, not enough nitric oxide. Could be a kidney issue. But the pitting and the non-pitting makes it serious or something that we just have to look otherwise. But if you have pitting edema, you don't want to play with that. And the nitric oxide is a great supplement because it increases circulation to every part of the body. And I love my nitric oxide. So the minimum supplements, to wrap up here, I would say just as a starter kit would be Super Greens, an essential source, B vitamins, vitamin D, and if you have normal or high blood pressure, nitric oxide. If you have liver issues, glutathione. Or if you have hormone issues, men's hormone support. Estrogen regulator, prevents testosterone from converting into estrogen. Omega-3 fatty acids, absolutely necessary for brain function. We have a bunch of supplements on the website. If you have any questions, send me an email through the website, drjoe.com. Or you can buy the supplements directly through the website. I'm happy to get them to you. Supplements are not a luxury, they're a necessity. That's my statement, and I believe that. So if you have erectile, I didn't even get to erectile dysfunction, that's a symptom of heart condition. So if you have any of these symptoms, send me an email. I'm happy to work with you. Follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. I post every single day. Podcast, Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time. I got to 16, Josh. I did that on purpose. If you're just tuning in, Josh, my IT guy sitting next to me, I said I have 16 symptoms I want to cover. I have a bunch of other stuff too. And he said, you're never going to get to 16. So I did it. I don't know why. What does that mean? I don't know. So you have questions?
What are your thoughts on grass-fed bison as a healthy meat source?
I wouldn't say anything healthy and meat. I wouldn't put in the same sentence. But if you're going to eat meat, grass-fed, I actually want to do organic. Organic is the key word. Because grass-fed, they could spray chemicals on the grass. But organic meat, if you're going to do meat, I recommend organic only. So that's a better choice. What else?
To speed up when cooking dinner, would there be any problem in boiling my potatoes and broccoli together?
No, not at all. No problem there. And if you take the potatoes, cook them, and put them in the refrigerator overnight, and then eat them the next day, you can heat them up or eat them cold, you create what's called a resistant starch, and you absorb about 40% less carbohydrates. So resistant starches are a better choice if you cook them. And you want to eat them the next day. You don't want to leave them in the refrigerator for too long. But that's another fun thing you can do to make it better. What else?
Should I add bone broth to my vegetables when I use the crock pot?
Nope. Animals store heavy metals, mercury, lead, cadmium in their bones and in their cartilage. So if you're boiling up bone broth, which I don't understand, you're running the risk of these heavy metals. And I'm not a fan of animal products. So you could use stock. You could use celery, carrots, onions, air-dried sea salt, Celtic salt, vegetable bouillon. Those are much better choices than bone broth. I would never recommend bone broth, no.
Your essential source has B12. If I take B12, even at low levels for days in a row, I begin to feel too mentally active, sort of anxious. What do you recommend?
The essential source is a very low dose, and so that's why I add an additional be complex to my protocol because I don't get that. If you start getting a little anxious taking it, just take half dose or maybe skip a day. But usually most people do pretty well with the Essential Source. The B vitamins are low, and it's a methylated one, so it's easily utilizable, if that's a word. What else you got?
Are there any supplements that would help out my thyroid?
Yes, go to my website, drjoe.com, and listen to the show we did on thyroid. Just type thyroid in the search bar. Super Greens and Essential Source, of course, are part of it, but we cover a lot more in that show. So, yeah.
What are the health benefits of wild salmon?
Not for the salmon. There's none. So I'm not a fan of salmon. Not because years ago we didn't have to worry about heavy metals like mercury, and now they find mercury in almost all fish that they test. It does have omega-3 fatty acids in it. It's not in a phospholipid form, so you have to convert it. When you heat the salmon, many times you change the molecular structure of the omega-3, so it's not really a usable form anymore. Thinking about it, it makes me gag. I would not recommend fish, but if you're going to do fish, please only do wild caught. Do not do farm-raised fish. Okay, so there may be some benefits. I don't see why you couldn't get those benefits from many more benefits from plants, but if you're going to do salmon, please do wild caught. So.
How often should I eat seaweed?
I take it every day with Super Greens and Essential Source. If you want to eat seaweed salad or something, you can do it every day. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
That is all.
That is all. Thanks, guys. Great questions today. I appreciate you guys as always. And again, the website's there 24 hours a day, drjoe.com. Send me your questions, and I'll hopefully see you this week in the office. If not, I'll talk to you through the website. Thanks.